Hey everyone, Scooby-Doo here and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be weathering and building a display for our Spinmaster BB8. Now, as you may or may not know, I actually purchased him about 4 or 5 months ago and did a review, and you know, Spinmaster kind of dropped the ball on him, but he's still pretty cool, and I wanted to get him into the Star Wars room, or the Empire room, and so I've been trying to think of a way to display him, and just a couple days ago I was going through my trunk looking for something, because my trunk is really messy, and I came across some of this green foam. I think florists use this for doing like arrangements. It's really easy to contour and cut. And so when I found it, I came up with an idea to give him a sand base display. And so I wanted to go ahead and get started on that. I'm going to be doing some cutting and some hot gluing, and once I get the initial shape, we're going to go in with some moldacine. We're going to add a few extra items, and then we're going to weather BB8 and then get him into the Empire room. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the camera. I'm going to do some cutting and we'll be right back. Alright, so I sculpted out that green piece and cut it and then re-glued it, and this stuff is so awesome to work with. I'll just show you really quickly. You can literally shave it like ice. You can sculpt it so easily. I don't know how much the stuff costs, because like I said, I just found it in my trunk, so I don't know if I'd found it somewhere, but it works awesome. So we have the base set, and now we're going to cover it with the moldacine. Another good reason to use a base like this, it's really light, so I'll be able to move it around, and I'll just kind of pick the camera up so you can just take a look at it. Kind of looks like a miniature golf course. So we're just going to be filling all of this in with moldacine and then smoothing it out. Alright, time to get back to work. Alright, so we finished putting the moldacine on the styrofoam. It's the moldacine right here. You see me use it a lot of times. This particular project, I would say, is not a beginner project. I would feel more comfortable if you have used moldacine before, so you kind of know how it reacts and how it dries. But right now it's been drying now for like half a day, so it is hard, but it's still, there's still moisture in it, so I can still actually come in through in contour areas. And I'm going to go ahead and let this sit for another, I don't know, maybe 2 days, so it really gets nice and dry, and then we're going to come back in with some glue and sand, which we'll cover later in this video. And so while all this is drying, and I'll give you a better look of it. So while this is drying, we're going to go ahead and start working on the BB8. We're going to give it a black wash. And hopefully we'll be able to bring out a lot of these cracks, not cracks, but all of these lines a little bit. And for that we're going to be using the same tempera paint, which is this right here. Going to mix it with water and just start going at it. Alright, so we're trucking right along with our base. Now I was going to be showing you the weathering of the BB8 next, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper into explanation what was on the videos, because I found out some new stuff about the tempera paint that I was using, which is this stuff right here. Found out some really cool stuff about it, but it wouldn't make sense if I just played the video, so I decided I can kind of talk about it while I'm doing the next step on the base. So the moldacine is pretty much dried. It actually takes probably a week or two before it'll like completely dry, but it's dry enough for us to work on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to apply the sand, and what I'm using is just this glue I got at the 99-cent store. I actually get 2 packs for 99 cents. I used to use the spray adhesive, which kind of worked a little bit, but it was more expensive, and again, it didn't work every time. I had some issues with it. This works out really well, and it's cheap. So it's almost like we're doing like a Cinnabon. Wouldn't that be great if all this was like white frosting? Yum. All right, so we got that on there. Now we're just going to spread it, just using a paintbrush. And so while I was doing this, I wanted to talk about the BB8. So I was using the temper paint, and as you know, I was mixing it with water, and I started to do the weathering on it and the black wash, and I was finding out that a lot of the black was coming out as I was wiping it off the BB8. Because one, the lines were too shallow on the actual BB8, and two, it was just too watery. So what I decided to do is I used just the temper paint with no water mixed at all. And I put that into all the crevices. In fact, I'll just kind of, the BB8's right here. You see part of it. So I put it into the cracks, and then I would then wipe it off. And I found out that that worked out really well, but there was a lot of cleaning up afterwards. But still came out really good. And as you know, I don't like spending a lot of time on projects. About 15-20 minutes tops before I start kind of getting all antsy about it. And so I started to rush it. I started doing more and more of the black paint, and got to the point where some of it was drying before I had a chance to wipe it off. So the first video that I'll be showing you is the one with me putting it in the cracks and then wiping it off and showing you how good it looks. And then there'll be a second one where I learned something else out, where if you let it dry, it's really easy to use. Really easy to use. So go ahead and, well actually, you know, I don't want to start that video yet. I'm going to go ahead and apply some of the sand. Now this is just, I actually bought like a 5-pound bag of sand. I don't know, like 2 years ago. I still have it. And so we're just going to put down the sand. And while I'm putting down the sand, go ahead and look at the first video. This is the one with me putting on the temper paint and then wiping it off, and you'll see some really good results. And then after that, we'll come back and hopefully all the sand will be down. And then we'll look at the second video where I actually let the temper paint dry. And then we'll talk about that afterwards. So this is actually the cinnamon for the Cinnabon. Go ahead and take a look at the first video. Okay, so I've been weathering the BB8 and been having some difficulty with it. And sometimes when you're working on a project, sometimes mistakes end up working out for you. And this one happens to be the case. You can see here the difference between the area that I've done and this area over here that I haven't done. So I had been using the temper paint, mixing it with water, and I found out that it was just kind of too watery and it wasn't filling in the cracks. And also too, it was getting way too dirty. And I was rubbing this off with a paper towel. Let me see if we can get it even closer. See that? And I was wiping it off with a paper towel and it wasn't coming off. And I was like, oh no, that's not good. So what I then decided to do was just go with the paint with no water. And so this will take a little bit longer, but I go into the cracks and actually put it right in there. Being a little bit sloppy because I'm doing this at a weird angle, so this could be filmed. Alright, get it in here. Alright, so I have it in there. Now this is what I found out. So I'm going to just use a white rag and kind of wipe off the extra. Then I come back with a paper towel, and I'm going to get more of it off. So here's what I found out. Other than this is going to take a little bit longer than I thought, it'll probably end up taking me 2 or 3 hours to do this whole thing. So you see how I'm rubbing this and it's still dingy? Well, I was taking my thumb and I was rubbing it, and actually just using my thumb, it comes right off. So what's really cool about this, hopefully this coming up in the camera, I can rub off exactly what I want to rub off with my thumb. And I can leave extra for like it being dirt. Hopefully this will come out like right here, watch this. Boom. My thumb is like a magic eraser. So look at that. You go right over that, look at that. Look how it cleaned it up. And now you get that nice black line in there. And then again, I can leave any bit of this dirt I want this in here, or I can just rub it off. And then what's left over is a nice black line. You can look at that. That looks awesome. So anyway, so there's a tip. I just found that out. It just sometimes things work out that way. All right, another update. I just wanted to show you just the great detail that is coming out. This is the other one that I showed you before. Right there, you can see the detail. And then this one, this looks awesome. Great detail in here again, opposed to that. And I wanted to show you one more because I'm not going to have two of these BB8s. Wanted to show you the head sculpt. So I did. So you can see here, I did kind of half of it. Right there. And then as we start to rotate around, this is the side that hasn't been done yet. Alright, so what did we think about the first video? I think that technique really works well for the Spinmaster BB8. As you can see, some of the weathering that I've already done because he's been completed. Also too, if you noticed, the base looks a little bit different because I had to be doing work while you're watching videos. Somebody has to do it. Actually added a base for Ray's speeder and another kind of base for her staff. So on to that video. I thought everything was working out great and it was coming out great. But now coming into the second video, and I kind of explain it a little bit, but I'm going to kind of explain it right now as well so it even makes more sense. What I was doing is when I was putting it into all of the cracks, I kept wanting to do more and more at one time, so when I washed it off I could do a larger area. And so by mistake, or by me rushing, which is also why I wanted to show you both of the videos, what happened was I did so much of the black that where I started, the paint had started to dry. It was actually dry. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, I hope I didn't ruin it. And I would end up taking my finger and rubbing it and it would all come off. So I was like, hey, there we go. Now I don't have to wipe anymore. So that's what the second video is about. It's really easy to do. As far as the yellowish orange that you may see in here, when you're watching the video, you'll notice that when I let the paint dry, there'll be some areas that weren't quite dry, and when I wiped it, it smeared a little bit. That's the technique you want to use for the orangish color, which is actually another temper of paint. This is curry color. This is curry. But you can use other shades, I'm sure. But yeah, so watch the video, and then when we get back, we're going to finish up on the base, and we'll look at our BB8 in a little bit better detail, and we'll get a full view of them. Sorry, one more break. I found something else out while I was doing the painting. A lot of these lines are kind of shallow, and I was noticing when I was doing the painting with the tempera paint, when I was coming back in with the wet rag, I was actually taking some of the paint out because once it gets activated with water, it kind of comes off. which is kind of a nice thing in one way. So I was working on the head sculpt and I put a little bit of paint and it dried really quickly, and I noticed if you just let it dry and just take your thumb, you get a nice solid deep black line, which is really nice. So this is going to work much easier. You just go right through. You can see how it's just... Now some of this isn't completely dry yet. I should have waited. Over here. Look right there. This is dry. So you can see how that just comes out beautifully. Now of course the other thing with this is that even though it looks really nice, if I were to come back with a wet rag and start rubbing on it, the water would reactivate a lot of the paint, so that wouldn't do any good. You would do all this hard work and then you'd have to do it again. You see how easy this is? And all you do is just dab the paint along the line. Don't get too sloppy with it. And in some spots it will actually, you know, might have to use your thumbnail to get in here. Or you can use a wet rag, just be really careful. So what I decided to do after that is I tested an area with some matte finish, some clear matte finish, because I don't want to have it still if I need to wipe down BB8 at some other time or somehow it gets wet. I don't want the paint dissolving on it. So I tested out an area. I tested this one out. Now I left some of the weathering in here. I went ahead and used a clear matte finish and it locked in the paint. So now I'm able to use the rag, the wet rag, and it won't take any of the paint off. It kind of locked it in. So found the solution for it. However, when you're using the matte finish, if you decide to go that route, you got to put it on really lightly, because even the matte finish spray paint, if you put too much of it on, it'll also activate the paint and it'll start to wash out. So put it on, let it dry, use your thumb, scrape it off, and then once you get it how you want it to look, just lightly put a matte finish on there, let it dry. You can put a couple coats, but just get that first one on there really lightly to lock everything in. Okay, so now we're finished, and now we're going to go ahead and clean all this up, and then as soon as I get it exactly how I want it, I'm going to matte finish the whole thing to lock all of the paint in and the weathering. Oh no, you caught me in my frosting stage again. So what do we think of the second video, right? How easy is that? Again, sometimes when you're making mistakes and you're rushing something, although it's never good to rush, you end up finding out something even better and a different way of doing stuff than you'd done before. So we'll take a closer look at him. Just let me finish spreading out this glue for our new section. Put that on there. Yeah, I was so happy with this. The only thing I wish I probably wouldn't have done is done the clear coat to lock everything in, because one, he's probably never going to get wet, and if any of the paint ever does come off, it'd be a really easy touch-up. Because I actually preferred the kind of shine that the plastic gave off, the natural plastic, whereas when I put the flat, it's just, well, it's kind of flat. So I just prefer that better, but it looks good regardless. Should be good. All right. Good enough. Over here and put some sand on. Or cinnamon, like I said. See, and this was another technique that I didn't have any of the adhesive spray, and thought, why don't I try some of this really cheap glue? And it works out great because this area that I did earlier, it's on there. It doesn't. There's no loose sand. It's set. I mean, you could scratch it off, I suppose, but it's gonna stay on there. All right, I think that's good. All right, so let's take a look at the BB8. Try to hold the camera as steady as I can, but you can see where I do have some smear marks in the weathering. And this is such a difference over the original BB8, even though Spinmaster did a really great job with it. So if you just want to detail them, just get yourself some black temper paint. Take you about 30 minutes to do, probably. Just put it all on and then wipe it all off with your thumb or any other finger that you have. Now on to the actual Spinmaster BB8. Spinmaster. Let's get this set up here. Alright, well, we'll just let it like that for a second. Spinmaster, why did you not put a display mode? Why do you not do this? I'm not going to use this video as a rant. We're building a diorama, but why did you do that? It would have been so simple for them. Give me 1 second, I have to go in the other room. It would have been so simple for them to, two things really, to make that Spinmaster just like, not necessarily a holy grail, but something that everybody would want to get, is one, if they would have gave it a charging base. So there was no plugs to deal with. You just set him in the charging base and he'd always be ready. He would always be ready to go. The second thing would be have him have like a interactive mode where he doesn't move around, but yet he would still talk to you and his head would still turn and stuff. If Spinmaster just would have done that, instead of them going for now, I actually checked them on eBay right now. A couple were selling for around 50 bucks. $50! That is crazy. Now, Thinkway made a BB8 almost similar before Spinmaster, and they actually had a mode where it could stay still and the head would just turn and it would be interactive. You could talk to it. But again, Spinmaster just decided not to do that. Now this one here is the Big Fig, and we're going to go ahead and go with this one. I also did a weathering job on him as well. And the reason why we're going to go with him is because even though he's not interactive, at least I can go up to him and push a button at any time to kind of show people off my display. And he lights up a little bit more in here. So again, if Spinmaster would have done that, oh my gosh, they wouldn't be going for $50. In fact, I don't even really know too many Star Wars items that started off at such a high price that just drop as much as Spinmaster stuff does. Anything else generally either stays the same or goes up in value. Spinmaster, get a clue. Anyways, okay, so this is the Big Fig. About the exact same size. I weathered it the same way. The only difference with this one is it's a different type of plastic, so it's a little bit more porous, so you can't just put the black paint on and have it dry and just wipe it right off, because what will happen is some of the pigments will actually settle into the pores of the plastic, so you kind of have to do some wiping. And when you do the wiping, just kind of go in this kind of motion here, and where you want to clean it up if it gets too dirty or too dingy. I've seen some other people that do these weathering jobs and they use paint thinner. You don't have to use paint thinner. Just use normal dishwater soap. Just let me get some, show you. Another 99-cent special. Just use straight soap on it, and most, I'd say about 98% of it will come up. Just be careful when you're wiping, because it will come up in the areas that you want it to stay. But essentially the same kind of way. You just got to be a little bit more careful, and you do have to wipe up. You can't just use your thumb on this particular type of plastic. So we're going to go with him. We're going to be doing the Ray speeder next and her staff. So I'm going to go ahead and get that stuff and put it on, and we'll return in just a moment. Alright, so you can see we went ahead and installed the Black Series Ray speeder, which is right here, obviously. Now, I actually did a separate video a few weeks back showing how I went about weathering and dry painting this vehicle. So if you're interested in seeing that video and you haven't seen it yet, I will leave a link down below, free of charge. Really like how it came out. Now, one thing that I didn't add in that other video is this does have trademark writing, which was down here. I went ahead and took that off. You just use a fine sandpaper and just kind of rub on it and then put some weathering over it, and then it goes away. Added her backpack, which is right here, and her staff. And again, just went in and detailed the back engines, and just makes it look a little bit better when you're doing dioramas if you do some form of weathering or dry painting on your vehicles. So I think that's about it, other than, I guess, on the sand. Once this all dried, I actually came back with some spray paint and did some highlighting. That way there's contrast to the sand. It's the same color I use for my Tatooine shelves. And then over here we actually added, or actually painted where her staff is going to go. And we will take a look at that in just a moment when we put this into the Empire room. So what do you think, BB8? Do you think we're ready to go? Well, I suppose I could add that, but I just thought since it's an Empire room, I really shouldn't put that in, but I guess I can try. Alright, so BB8 wants me to add one other item to this diorama, so I will be back in just a moment. And we will get this added for you, BB8. Alright, as requested by BB8, we're going to be adding the Hot Toys 1/6 scale Ray scavenger outfit to our diorama. And she looks fantastic. Great figure. Head sculpt, body sculpt, the outfit, really posable. Sometimes with figures, you know, you have to work the saber in or the gun, or it's kind of a little bit of a strain, or the joints are kind of loose. She was perfect. Just absolutely perfect. Now, I have her posed with the saber, just kind of a statement that she will be a Jedi, I suppose. I could have used the gun because she does come with a lot of accessories. Let me show you. This is her gun hand, but I did switch it out with the saber. The box she comes in is right here, and you can see, you know, she comes with the head wrap and the goggles. She comes with a backpack, obviously the saber, the gun. She comes with a bunch of different hands. Some are just the open hands, and she also has gloved hands as well. And she has her staff, and just the detail. Again, I know I used the word fantastic before, but really awesome figure. So now I think we have everything set to go into the other room. Yes, that's correct, BB8. Yeah, now it is set. I will give, yes, give you full credit for coming up with the idea of adding Ray. Alright, now let's get this video wrapped up, get it into the other room, look at the final results, and see what you guys think. Alright, and here she is in the Empire room. What do you think, BB8? You like it? I think it looks pretty good. Right. I know I would have liked to put you up on the display, but Spinmaster just didn't want to give you a display mode. Do you like Ray? Yeah, he's really digging Ray. So here we go, the final display. You can see here I added another planet It's part of my Planet Moon collection. It's Jakku. And then also, this is the 3D Deco Millennium Falcon. This is the exact same one that we were working on about a month ago. Went ahead and took it down from where it was and decided to add it to the display. Now, if you want to know more about the Planet, I will leave a link down below for that as well. Boy, BB8's just really over the moon on this display. And here's her staff. This staff was available at the Disney parks. It's not a full size. It's about 54 inches. It's made out of foam. And then I just use one of my lightsaber holders. Look at that. He's digging it. Here, let's see if they do anything. They're debating on which one's better. Actually, probably the Thinkway one would be the best. Wow. Settle down. Oh. Alright, so if you have any questions or comments regarding this display or anything else you've seen, leave them down below. I will be doing another weathering and painting video on my Amazon exclusive Slave 1 ship. I'm going to start that next week. So I hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend, and I shall talk to you guys later. You guys are going to need to get along. That's all I got to say. Alright, bye.